Today, we're going to tell you the story of a bride who gave birth to someone's illegitimate child on her wedding night. The guests at the wedding were shocked and began to seek forgiveness from God. When you find out who the real father of the child is, you'll be stunned too, and what punishment her husband gave her afterward. Watch the video till the end to find out. My name is Hamid. Tonight was my wedding night, and I was very happy. My mother had praised my wife a lot, saying she was from a very respectable family. But how was I to know that this so-called honorable woman would put me through such disgrace on our wedding night? As I entered the room, she started screaming with her face covered. Terrified, I lifted her veil, and seeing me, she cried even louder. I asked, "What happened? Are you okay?" She replied, "I'm in terrible pain. The baby is coming. Please, call a midwife." Hearing this left me speechless, but seeing her scream and writhe in pain, I immediately ran outside in that moment. I forgot she was my bride and that this was our wedding night. I couldn't bear to hear her cries. But before I could return, a woman entered the room. She was dressed in black, accompanied by 4 or 5 other women. The woman looked quite young, held my wife down, and covered her with a large sheet so no one could see her. I stood frozen. What was going on? As far as I knew, my wife was from a decent, respectable family. So how did she end up giving birth on our wedding night? I followed them. They quickly placed my wife in a car and drove away. The house was full of guests. Everyone started asking, what happened to the bride? Why was she rushed to the hospital? I stood silently, stunned. I said nothing to anyone because my wife was from a prestigious family. I couldn't shame her in public. I went to my room, thinking I should talk to my parents. But a bigger crime had been committed by her parents. How could they marry such a girl to me? Didn't my parents notice anything? I thought I should talk to her father, so I called him. He answered the phone. I tried to remain calm and said gently, "Uncle, your daughter has just been taken to the hospital with a midwife and some women, and I'm sitting here mourning my dishonor. If your daughter had a past, you could have at least told me." He responded angrily, "Are you insane? What nonsense are you talking about? My daughter was perfectly fine." Just then, his wife came from behind and said, "He's telling the truth." Hearing that, they both fell silent. They hung up the phone. Immediately, now I was sure the child in my wife's womb was someone else's. They had deceived me. I thought about divorcing her immediately, but before I could do anything, my mother entered the room. She said, "Son, come outside. Don't worry." Shocked, I asked her, "My wife gave birth to another man's child on our wedding night, and you're telling me not to worry?" Mom replied, "Son, I understand your pain, but you must listen to me." I said, "Fine, Mom, I've always listened. To you and Dad, I'll listen this time too. But am I a toy? Doesn't anyone care about my life?" She replied, "Why are you crying like a girl? I want what's best for you. Come outside, your in-laws are here to talk." I said, "What am I supposed to say to them? Now they'll beg me to protect their daughter's honor, ask me to forgive her." She said, "Nothing like that, just come out and listen to your father." I asked, "What does Dad want?" She replied, "Go to the hospital, check on your wife, and hold the baby lying next to her. Tell everyone, this is my child." I asked, "Are you in your senses, Mom? Are you my parents or my enemies? Why would I claim someone else's illegitimate child? That's impossible." She said, "Son, do as we say. I swear if you follow our advice, when you return, I'll tell you everything. Then you may do whatever you want." Reluctantly, I said, "Okay, I'll go." So I left home and arrived. At the hospital, I prayed, "Oh Allah, let this all be a lie. You gave me the joy of marriage. Please don't take it away so soon." With a heavy heart, I entered the room. I saw a few women and one man. The man didn't look very impressive, quite ordinary, but he seemed cunning when he saw me. He stood up in shock. I asked, "Brother, who are you?" He said, "I'm the father of this child." Looking at the baby, my blood began to boil, but I remembered the oath my parents made me take. I told the man, "If this child is yours, take it, but I'm taking my wife home. She is my wife, my honor. I married her. Marriage isn't so weak that it breaks instantly. Most importantly, I love her deeply." Hearing this, the man's face turned pale, and he stormed out angrily. My wife was crying. I handed the baby to a nearby nurse and said, Please take care of this baby. My wife isn't well. I was shocked. How could such a respectable girl do such a vile thing? I brought her home from the hospital. My parents were standing there looking at my wife. You couldn't tell she had just given birth. She was walking normally, still in her wedding dress. My mother welcomed her warmly and embraced her. She greeted my parents respectfully. She didn't look like a woman who had just had a child. She looked like a virgin. Mom lovingly made her sit beside her. At that moment, I felt disgusted with my parents. Maybe they were blinded by her wealth and were treating her well, which they shouldn't. She had committed not just a mistake, but a great sin which must be punished. But my mom was treating her like she was pure and godly. I was feeling very strange. Just then, a woman and a man entered our house. They seemed like a married couple, my wife said. This is my sister and brother-in-law. They were carrying a baby. Her sister hugged her and said, "Thank you so much, sister. You've done me a great favor. I will never forget this. If it weren't for this child, I would have divorced and gone back to my father's house." Her husband, annoyed, said, "Stop saying nonsense." Then he said, "Now this child is our own blood." My wife smiled shyly. Suddenly, she started acting weak. "Bring me beef stew. I feel faint, dizzy." Hearing that, my mom jumped up and said, "Of course. I'll bring hot stew right away after all." My daughter-in-law gave birth to such a beautiful boy. Hearing that made my blood boil. Had my mom gone mad out of greed? I followed her into the kitchen. I asked, "Are you okay? After all this, you're still calling her your daughter-in-law. You told me you'd explain everything when I got home." Mom said, "Be patient. Let these people leave then. I'll tell you everything. If you're still not satisfied, you can divorce her." I stayed silent, decided to wait an hour or two. I came outside. Everyone was treating my wife like she'd done something great. I looked at the baby with disgust after they left. I thanked God I'd finally be free with a divorce. But what my mother said next stunned me. She said, "Son Amir, listen to us carefully." My wife was sitting beside me. Mom asked, "Just look at her. Does she look like she gave birth?" I looked closely and said, "How would I know? Only the guilty knows their crime." Mom said, "Yes, son, but giving birth isn't a crime. Takes a lot of pain. Do you see any signs on her body that she was pregnant?" I couldn't understand anything. My head was spinning. Frustrated, I said, "What is this drama? Say it clearly. You're saying..." "The child is hers," she said it herself. "Even the lover was at the hospital claiming the baby. Now you say she wasn't even pregnant." Seeing me angry, Mom said, "Sit down. I'll explain. That baby wasn't hers." I said, "Do you think I'm a fool? You'll say, she's pure, and I should believe it." Mom said, "Amir, you met that woman who came, right? Now let your wife explain everything," my wife said. "I know this hurt, husband could bear it." I was very young when my older sister got married. She was the most beloved person in my life. Our mother was always sick, so I spent all my time with her. She was like a mother to me. At her wedding, I cried so much, I even stopped eating. Gradually, I understood she was happy in her own life, even after 5 years of marriage. She couldn't have a child. One day, she came home very worried and said, "My mother-in-law constantly insults me for not having a child." I comforted her and said, "Let's find a solution. Ask your husband if he'll agree to adopt." She agreed and talked to her husband, but he said, "We won't take someone else's child. If any of your blood relatives can give us their own child, that's fine." They asked my aunts and cousins. No one agreed. Then she came back to me. Disappointed, I told my father to arrange my marriage. That's how my wedding with you happened, on the wedding night. I claimed I was pregnant. Everyone believed I was going to give birth. But I wasn't pregnant. You hadn't even touched me yet, since our actual wedding hadn't happened. Just the engagement. I pretended to be pregnant so everyone would think I was giving birth. I asked, "If the child isn't yours, then whose is it?" Mom said, "Son, that child belongs to your sister Nadia. She had a relationship with a boy. And by the time we found out it was too late she was pregnant, your wife helped us. We secretly took Nadia to the hospital, saving both her honor and her baby's life. We also told your wife's father. He agreed. Otherwise, we would have lost all respect." After hearing everything, I was shocked, relieved that my wife was innocent, but angry at my sister. What was done punishing. My sister would only bring shame. Apologized to my wife. We started living happily together. A year later, Allah blessed us with a son of our own. I was so happy. We also got my sister married to that same man. Now we all live happily together. Dear friends, how did you like this story? We hope you loved it. If you did, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon. Thank you.